do something else in your presentations, I think is personally, again, it's brilliant in its simplicity. And that is you block objections early before you even get into your presentation.
Dude, you're saying things I'm like, this guy,
yeah,
he just gets it, man. Nobody asked me these questions.
What do? You did this one presentation, and I think you divided the room in half. Now, half of you are going to be excited about learning new stuff. Half of you might have your doubts. Obviously, you go into much more detail, and you spend about 2 or 3 minutes. But I go, look what he's doing. He's just preparing. He's just tilling the field before he starts planting seeds, right?
My goodness.
And you do that so well. Speak to me about blocking objections or resistance from the stage, because you said something very subtle again early. You said when you started, your passion for communication was becoming known to you, so to speak, that you're trying to figure out what makes people more receptive. How do I prepare them? How do I make it more sticky? But sometimes it's not making it about sticky. It's about opening them up to be able to receive the information. And I think the way you block objections is a clever way of doing that.
All right, folks, as you're listening to this, I've probably been on 1,000 podcasts. Nobody's ever asked me that because they didn't observe that. And this is fundamental to the way that I present and certainly the way that I sell. So again, if you're listening to Victor, this is why you listen to him right here. This is why, because he asks questions that I've never been asked before. So the principle that you're talking about right now is what I call vanguarding. And just to give you the historical reference point on this, the vanguard was the part of the Roman army that went into battle first. And when they went into it, they formed a V, all right? And it was almost like an arrow of people going in to battle first. That was your vanguard. And so there's a phrase that I believe so much in, and here it is. The greatest way in life to resolve a concern is to address it before it becomes a concern. And that's what vanguarding is. It's knowing what the problem is going to be or what the exit doors are going to be in their mind and getting in front of those, closing those doors before they have a chance to even open them. So, for example, one of the major vanguards I have in every single talk, presentation, etc., is what you just heard Victor mention, which is this is nice, but you see, Marcus, we're different. You see, everybody likes to think we're different. And because I know that we naturally think this as humans, I need to go into the presentation and I need to get rid of that before they're allowed to say it. I need everybody to agree that they're not different. And so I will take the time at the beginning of the presentation to say something like this. And I'll even do it just like we talked about, but I'll say something like this. My fear today, Victor, and let's say you were in the audience. My fear today, Victor, is that you hear this and you say, well, that might have worked for you as a pool guy in Virginia, Marcus, but you see, here at my company, Victor Antonio Inc., things are, go ahead, Victor. Victor
different.
Says, different. And I say, that's right.
By the way, I just want to pause you because you could crack me up. The way you started out, it's just brilliant. It goes, my fear is.
Yes.
Because people are naturally go, well, what is your fear?
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah. So I say that. And then what happens is, I choose somebody in the audience to say the word, we're different. Right. And then I'll say this. Now, you are different, Victor. But let's analyze this further. If I said to you, is trust fundamental to your business in 20 years? What would you say?
No, it's not different. It'll be the same.
Yeah. Trust is fundamental to you. Today, tomorrow, 20 years, trust is never going to go away. It's never going to go away. And so the one thing that all of us in this room have as a commonality is we're in the business of trust. And I'll point at people. Are you in the business of trust? They'll say, yeah. Are you in the business of trust? They'll say, yeah. So can we agree that we're all in the business of trust? Or say, yeah. Okay, great. Now, so here's what you have to do today. Today, I'm going to show you how you can become the most trusted voice in your space. And if at any point you feel like, I don't know if this applies to me, you first have to say to yourself, but could this help us induce more trust?
Wait. I got to stop you because this is so good. So, okay, audience, notice what he did. Because it's like, if you don't really pay attention, they'll just right by you. First, he gets you to buy into the word trust, right? Yep. And then he says to you, don't we want to be, what'd you say, the trusted voice in our industry?
Yes. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to focus in on. That, by the way, again, you do this because it's natural. You've worked on it, but just that cadence, that sequence of what you just did, right, is brilliant because it's like you set them up, the vanguard, right?
Yeah.
And then you set them up for everybody has to agree. We want to be the trusted voice in our industry.
Yeah.
Well, then we can agree. And then you take them from there and everybody's on board. I love that, man. It's subtle, but it's powerful.
Yeah. And at the end of that entire segment, I say, so can we agree that whether you're a B2B, B2C, service, product, local, national, mom and pop or corporation or nonprofit, that today we won't come from a place of we're different, but rather we're all going to come from the same place, a place of trust. If you can agree that you're not going to come from that different place today, everybody please say yes. And then the audience says yes. And now, you see, first couple of years of presenting, I kept getting people come to me at the end, Victor, and they'd say, Marcus, this was great, but how does this apply to me as a B2B service-based business? All right, if they're saying that, who's it on? It's on me.
You're
now,
right.
granted, there could be some people, there are some people that no matter what, you're not going to be able to break through because they have
But I love what you just said, though. It's on me.
It's on me.
A lot of presenters don't understand it. It's
That's
on
right.
you. If the audience doesn't get it, it's not their fault. It's your fault.
That's right.
And you just made that statement, whether you're B2C, B2B, and you said
Service, product,
service,
local, national, mom,
national.
pop. It's like, I want to cover every single exit door here.
Yeah.
A
But that-
label
Yes.
that they would give themselves as to why this doesn't pertain to them. And so each one is one of those exit doors. I've tried to identify all of them. I throw in their nonprofit too, because then they're going to think they're, so now everybody's like, yeah, I know that we have a commonality of trust. I know everyone's going to say that is fundamental to my business today, tomorrow, forever, right? Because it's a principle
Yeah.
of truth. And so because of that, we're focused on that. And
Yeah.
so later on, if somebody says, yeah, but Marcus, I don't think we should do that. We start, okay, I understand why you would think that, but let's first answer this question. If you found a way to do it, would it induce more trust? So we bring them right back again, and then
trust.
they say, yeah, it would. Then it becomes a situation where we're going in solution mode instead of, okay, there's this problem of, I don't want to talk about that. No.
Right.
Would it induce more trust? Well, yeah. Okay. So now let's work from that point.
I love it. In your book, if I may be so bold as to suggest, you got to have one chapter titled, maybe a little section titled, Blocking Mental Exit Doors. Because I love the way everybody takes for granted that when you say that, it's like that big deal. You just said it, right? B2B, B2C, global, local, mom, pop, the whole bit, right? But you had to really think about that line. You had to craft that line. I know you did,
Yes.
right? So one day you just said, I got to cover all these doors. And then you sit there and then what you're doing is preempting that conversation later on, which saves you time.
Preempt. The greatest
yeah.
way in life to resolve a concern is to address it
Yeah.
before it becomes a
I
concern.
love that phrase, closing the mental exit doors. Now, you also, there are several things, by the way, if you're listening or watching this, especially if you're listening to this, you'll notice that throughout his presentation, and it isn't a presentation, this interview, we're talking about speaking, communicating. You'll notice, even if you go back and rewind this, you'll notice Marcus's tone, velocity, speed, cadence continue to change throughout this. I think you've changed on me like 4 or 5 times already, easily, which I appreciate. And then your tone changes, and then you try to create visuals like the Vanguard, the V. You know what I mean? You try to bring us into the room.